Okay, as promised, this is the video of me reviewing the stations activity from Tuesday. So the first thing I want to look at is the hierarchy sheet or your yellow paper that I had you fill out. So a quadrilateral is a four-sided figure. A parallelogram, opposite sides are parallel. And let me make sure you can see my screen. So for a parallelogram, opposite sides are parallel, opposite sides are congruent, opposite angles are congruent, consecutive angles are supplementary, that means they add up to 180, diagonals bisect each other. All of those properties are true for the next three figures that we are going to talk about. We talked about rhombus, rectangle, and square. In a rhombus, that is a parallelogram with four congruent sides. The diagonals are perpendicular. The diagonals bisect opposite angles. And you have four right triangles within that rhombus. A rectangle is a parallelogram with four right angles. Diagonals are congruent. And it has four isosceles triangles. Remember, an isosceles triangle has two base angles that are congruent. Okay, and then the last thing we talked about was a square. All sides are congruent. All angles are 90 degrees. And then all of the other properties listed here apply to a square. So let's get into the station work that we had on Tuesday. Station 1 told you it was a parallelogram. So if you refer back to your sheet, you're looking at these rules. Okay, the five that we looked at. Okay. So the first thing I want to do, let's look at measure of angle 1. That's the first question here. How do you find the measure of angle 1? Well, you have parallel lines cut by a transversal, this diagonal is your transversal. So we have alternate interior angles. So the measure of angle 1 is just 21 degrees. Okay. And then if you look here as well, these are alternate interior too. So this would be 41 degrees here. Okay. Part 2, next part, the measure of angle DAB. DAB. That is asking you to look at this entire angle. Okay. One of the things we talked about with a parallelogram, consecutive angles are going to be supplementary. Okay, so if we take this entire angle, that's going to be 41 plus 21, which gives you 62. Okay, so that's 62 degrees. All right, and so what I have in blue and yellow, those two angles are consecutive side by side, so they have to add to equal 180 degrees. So how we're going to do that, we're going to do 180 minus 62, and you should get 118. Okay, so this entire angle is 118 degrees. So DAB is 118. Right? AB. Okay, that's this side here. Opposite sides are congruent. So this AB is just 9. Okay. DB is this diagonal. And we were given some information here. It says AC is 8. So from A to E would be 4, and then C to E would also be 4. And then it says DE is 6. So that means BE is also 6. So DB would be the entire diagonal, which is 6 plus 6, which is just 12. And then the measure of angle ABC, well, opposite angles are congruent. This whole thing is 62, so this whole thing is 62 degrees. Okay, so the measure of ABC is 62 degrees. BC is here. Opposite sides are congruent, so this would just be 5. And then AE is 4. Okay. That is station 1. Okay. Station 2. Let's get everything in that picture. Okay. Okay, station 2, it says GHKL is a rectangle, and it gives you some information within the rectangle, and it gives you GN is 17. So we'll put that there. Okay, if GN is 17, then KN is also 17. All right. And what is special about a rectangle? So if you go back to our sheet for a rectangle, it's got 4 right angles, diagonals are congruent, 4 isosceles triangles. So it's got 4 right angles. I'm going to make those here. All of those are right angles. Okay. Okay, so if we know this part is 62, base angles are congruent in isosceles triangles, so angle 1 has got to be 62 degrees. All right. And angle 1, which is 62 degrees, plus angle 2 have to be 90. Okay, so what is 90 minus 62? That should give you 28. So angle 2 is just 28 degrees. Make sure we're looking there. Okay, let's see. All right. So the measure of angle 2 is 28 degrees. All right, I want to go ahead and fill in all the angles from here. So angle 5 is just 28 degrees. Angle 6 is just 62 degrees because 28 plus 62 is 90. You know that whole thing is 90. And we've got isosceles triangles here. That's 28 and that's 28. Okay. All right. The measure of angle HGL. HGL is that entire angle, which is just 90 or 90 degrees. The measure of angle 4. All right, so we have 4 isosceles triangles. We're looking at this triangle here at the base. Let me get my highlighter. Looking at this triangle. Base angles are the same. They are both 28. The inside angle measures of a triangle have to add to 180 degrees. 28 plus 28 is 56. Okay, so 180 minus 56 gives you 124. Okay, so this angle 4 is 124 degrees. Okay, GK. GK is this entire diagonal. That's just going to be 17 plus 17, which is 34. And then LK. So we have some information. Okay, you know, this side is 16. You know, this side is 16. And we know, okay, so if we, let me get my highlighter. It's going to be easier to see. I'm going to get the orange one. I'm going to look at this big right triangle right here. Okay. Sometimes it takes a minute to figure out what you're looking for. But you see this right triangle here? This is the 90-degree angle that makes it a right angle. Now we have the hypotenuse, which is 17 and 17. And you have one of the legs, and you're trying to find LK. We'll call this X. So let's use Pythagorean theorem. It says a squared plus b squared equals c squared. C is your hypotenuse. Your hypotenuse is your longest side across from that 90-degree angle. So that hypotenuse is just 34. Okay. One of our legs is 16. And then we have the other leg is x. So 16 squared plus x squared equals 34 squared. 16 squared is 256 plus x squared equals 34 squared, which is 1,156. Subtract 256 on both sides. We end up getting x squared equals 900. And then take the square root of both sides. You get x is just 30. So that side is 30. So this side is also 30. LK is 30. We already found the measure of angle 1, the measure of angle 3. Okay, so we have another isosceles triangle here. This is the angle we're looking for, angle 3. 62 plus 62 is 124. Okay, and then 180 minus 124 is what we're missing to make 180. So that should give you 56. So the measure of angle 3 is 56 degrees. The measure of angle 5 is 28 degrees. We already found that. HL is 16. Nope, I was looking at HK. HL is this other diagonal. What do you know about the diagonals in a rectangle? Okay, you know they are congruent. Diagonals are congruent. So if one of them is 34, guess what the other one is? It's also 34. Okay, and then GL is just 16. Okay, station 3. This is a rhombus. Okay, so going back to your little cheat sheet, study sheet, a rhombus is a parallelogram with 4 congruent sides. Diagonals are perpendicular. Diagonals bisect opposite angles, and you have 4 right triangles. Okay, so we have 4 congruent sides. Okay, and the diagonals are perpendicular. We have 90-degree angles there. And the diagonals bisect opposite angles. Okay. So if you are bisecting this angle and exactly half of it is 67, the other half is also 67 degrees. And that's going to be the same up here because opposite angles are congruent. Okay. Now let's dive into this. So the first thing it tells you NR is 5. So this is 5 here. That means that QR is also 5. And then MP, the whole thing, is 24. So this part's 12 and this part's 12. Okay, so QP. QP is this here. How do we find that side? Well, we have to find x first. And since all of these are congruent, you're going to say 2x minus 7 equals x plus 3. All right. And I'm going to subtract x on both sides. That gives me x minus 7 equals 3. I'm going to add 7 on both sides to get x equals 10. So we know that x is 10. And 10 plus 3 is just 13. So all of these sides are 13. All right. So QP would be 13. Now it says find the measure of angle NQP. NQP is 67 degrees. Find the measure of angle NMO. Sorry, that's not an O, that's a Q. I can't read. NMQ. So that's this entire angle, okay? This entire thing. All right. Again, the rules of a parallelogram still apply, so keep those in your mind as you're going through these. So one of the things is consecutive angles are supplementary. So this angle, this entire angle plus this entire angle, M and Q, those two added together equal 180. Okay, so let's find out what Q is. Q is 67 and 67. So 67 plus 67 is 134. Okay, so these two added together equal 180. So 180 minus 134 should tell you that big angle. And that is 46. Okay, so that entire angle is 46 degrees. See that? All right. So the measure of angle NMQ is 46 degrees. RP is just 12. The measure of angle MNP is opposite to this angle, which is that 67 and 67 combined. 67 plus 67 is 134. So that whole angle is also 134. The measure of angle NRP. NRP, well, that's just 90 because that's a right angle. And then how do you find y? We have this little expression here, 5y minus 10. It's pointing to that right angle, which is 90. So we're going to say 5y minus 10 equals 90. Add 10 on both sides. You get 5y is 100. Divide by 5 on both sides, you get y is 20. Okay, and that is station 3. Station 4. This is a square. BELT is a square. The perimeter is 48 centimeters. I can't see all the. Okay. The perimeter is 48 centimeters. If you know that the perimeter is 48 centimeters, go back, look at your sheet. What do we know about a square? We know all sides are congruent. All angles are 90 and all properties apply. Okay. So if you know all sides are congruent, you know, like everything, all the perimeter added together is 48. You're going to do 48 divided by 4, and you should get 12. So BE is 12. That means all of these sides are 12. The measure of angle 2. Okay, again, all properties apply. One of the properties we looked at just in the previous example, diagonals were perpendicular, so they create 90-degree angles. That's going to be true here. So angle 2 is just 90 degrees. ES. Okay, so this is that segment here. All right, and so let's keep going. Let's skip that one for now. The measure of angle 1 is just 45 degrees because one of the properties is all angles are 90 degrees. So exactly half of 90 is 45 degrees. So angle 1 is 45 degrees. Okay. So again, if all of these are 45, how would you find x? You're going to set that equal to 45. 3x minus 15 equals 45. Add 15. You get 3x equals 60. Divide by 3, divide by 3. X is 20. Okay. So now that we have that information, one thing we can do, we can use the Pythagorean theorem to find the side that we are looking for. Okay. So I want to look at this bigger right triangle here. Okay. Again, we're trying to find ES, which is here, and we're trying to find BL. BL is one of the diagonals. Okay, so if we look at that right angle, remember all of the corners are 90. So all of these are 90 if it's a square. And you have two sides of this right triangle. So use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We have an a, we have a b. We are looking for our c. So we are going to set that up. 12 squared plus 12 squared equals our c squared. That's the one we're trying to find. So 144 plus 144 equals our c squared. 144 plus 144 is 288. Take the square root of both sides, and you should get 12 on the square root of 2 equals our c. So that entire diagonal is 12 on the square root of 2. So again, the diagonals are congruent. Let's do blue. So this line is congruent to this line. So if you know one of those is 12 square root 2, the other one has got to be the same. So we know that BL is 12 square root 2. Now, how would you find half of that? Okay, so half of that is going to be these little segments here. So you're just going to divide that by 2. 12 on the square root of 2 divided by 2. Two goes into 2 one time, 2 goes into 12 6 times. So that just gives you 6 on the square root of 2. Okay. And that was your station work for the day. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped. Good luck on your test.